Peace and welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. We got a lot to talk about. First, let's give you an update about what happened out of Washington, D.C. with President Biden giving a national address to give his thoughts and his plan on addressing the conflicts in both Ukraine and Israel. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to have to discuss how there is a group of folks that are trying to do their best to make schools healthy. We're going to be tuning in. We're going to talk to one award winner of this Healthy Schools contest, and the impact that it has on the students and their communities. And today is the final day of the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. We're going to be checking in with psychologist and author Dr. Ray Winbush. We're going to be checking in with activist and advocate Brother Elijah Miles to talk about Black men and family and their community. And we're talking about dope Black dads. Who's doing it all? All right, folks, start that conversation and more. It's up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, it is Friday, so happy Friday. And also, it is the final day of our Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. And I hope that you have been enjoying these set of conversations that we've been having all week, talking about ways that Black men can be seen, heard, felt, and our leadership our presence is leading the way in a lot of different spaces. So big shout out to all of the fantastic guests that we've had over this past few days. But today we're going to definitely have another dope edition of the Black Men Summit. We're going to be checking on Dr. Ray Winbush, Brother Elijah Miles, and of course with you as we have these conversations about Black men and family and community life. There it is right there. All right, folks, we're streaming on all our platforms. Make sure you go to our home network of blackstarnetwork.com. Again, that's blackstarnetwork.com. And download the app for free. Follow us on social media. And more importantly, give something to help power this digital movement that we are embarked upon, folks. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. We are streaming live right now on Amazon News on your Fire TV. Make sure you check us out there. On Amazon Prime Video, you can check us out there, whether you're online at amazon.com or whether you're on the app. Make sure you check us out there. We're also on streaming on Freevee as well as Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Plus, we're on social media on our Facebook page under Roland Martin Black Star Network, and on our YouTube page under Roland Martin. And so on our YouTube page where you can join the chat to be a member of the Culture Crew for the day. Hopefully you stick around. You jump in the chat today and say, you know what, I like these people because I love them. So make sure y'all join us in the chat and the Culture Crew. Big shout out to the crew that's checking in from all around the country as well. Big shout out to everybody I'm seeing. And there we go. It's Friday, so why not? Why not celebrate them? All right, folks. Let me speaking of Culture Crew, let me bring in our Culture Crew member, Corinna Denise, who joins us every Friday here on the Culture. She is a college advisor. She is an advocate. She is an activist, and just an all-around dope Black woman doing her thing, living her best life on a Friday. So
peace through. Thank you for those kind sentiments, Faraji. And
absolutely
part of your crew.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about President Biden. He made a national address yesterday, Corinna, and I want to kind of get your take on this. He called for financial support of both Ukraine and Israel. And it is what, as they say, what a time to be alive, right? In America, where we have two conflicts that are happening abroad that America is intimately involved in. Let me just share with you just a couple of the remarks that from President Biden yesterday, folks. Take a look at this. This is coming directly from the transcript of the president. So this is not being reported, but this is actually what he said. He said, quote, "I know these conflicts can seem far away, and it's natural to ask, why does this matter to America? So let me share with you why making sure Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's national security. You know, history has taught us that when terrorists don't pay a price for their terror, when dictators don't pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos and death and more destruction. They keep going. And the cost and the threats to America and the world keep rising. So if we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself just to Ukraine. So if we don't stop Putin's appetite for his power and control, one of his top advisors, a former president of Russia, has called Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania Russia's Baltic provinces. These are all NATO allies. For 75 years, NATO has kept peace in Europe and has been the cornerstone of American security. And if Putin attacks a NATO ally, we will defend every inch of NATO, which a treaty requires and calls for. Very, very straight up. He's just like, hey, you mess with them, you mess with us. He's a problem. We're trying to contain him. But if we got to stop him right now because he's looking at some of these other places. What's your take on this, Corinna?
Yeah, I mean, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I think they're trying to contain the situation right before it dominoes and it gets worse. I hope a lot of us had the chance to see the president's remarks, if not live during prime time last night, maybe went back and watched it, or, watching here now, you went over some of his remarks. I think is very important so that we have an awareness and an understanding as to how this affects us here at home. So yes, Faraji, they're trying to contain the situation, oblige the NATO treaty. Like you said, if you mess with them, you mess with us. And we don't want it to domino. I know a lot of us probably have loved ones who are in various branches of military and armed forces. We don't want them, this to get uglier than it already is. And then, we have to, as the US, go into physical combat. So it sounds like, that's what's happening. They're trying to contain this situation. I do know, and I'm just going to acknowledge it, that, a lot of people will raise questions about, I guess, aid and things that will be going over there and comparing that to, what's happening right here at home. Valid responses or questions, rather. But again, I think right now, rather than just being so quick to point the finger, we're at a very critical point, just not only in this country, but just around the world. And we really have to pay attention to understand why certain decisions are being made, why certain solutions are being considered, so that we understand how we need to move here. We can't just, shut down and be like, why is this happening? We need to ask, why is it happening? And how does this essentially affect us? So, I say all that to say that, we have to be aware, and this could get out of control, and we don't want that to get out of control. We seen what happened recently. Genocide is genocide. It's wrong. It's cruel. And just as human beings, we need to have that sensitivity to what's happening in different parts of the world, and not to negate what's happening here at home. Not at all, because we're definitely going through our own struggles. But at the same time, the situation just calls for us to have that consideration, not only for ourselves, but other human beings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's important for us to keep inside and keep in mind. And I think, I know Joe Biden's probably thinking like, man, oh man, I think he probably really hated this Israel situation to pop off the way it did. And I don't want to use the term pop off, but I'm sure in the back of his mind, because he's probably thinking like, yo, if we don't intervene, right? Like we have this long-standing, unequivocal support for Israel, and we have to intervene because it's, quote unquote, in the best interest of America, national security. Let's not talk about the fact that of the connections that Israel has to Congress and all of those things. Like it forces his hands, but he is saying he's trying to avoid any type of American troops from hitting the ground. Very quickly before we take our first pause, this is also what he said. He said America's leadership. Take a look, folks. American leadership. Is what holds the world together. American allies are what keep America safe. American values are what make us a partner that other nations want to work with. To put all of that at risk if we walk away from Ukraine, if we turn our backs on Israel, it's just not worth it. So he said, that's why tomorrow, meaning today, I'm going to send to Congress an urgent budget request to fund America's national security needs to support our critical partners, including Israel and Ukraine. It's a smart investment that's going to pay dividends for American security for generations, help us keep American troops out of harm's way, help us build a world that is safer, more peaceful, and more prosperous for our children and grandchildren. The security package I'm sending to Congress and asking Congress to do is an unprecedented commitment to Israel's security that will sharpen Israel's qualitative military edge, which we've committed to, the qualitative military edge. He's not trying to put boots on the ground, but he's definitely trying to provide some military resources.
Right, resources.
And look, here's the thing, and I know we got to take a quick pause. The thing is, war is never predictable. Winning a war is never certain. We see that with the Ukraine-Russia situation. Yeah. We're seeing that with the latest round of violence from Hamas and Israel. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. It's like being in a street fight. Yeah. There's no guarantee that the other person is going to play by the rules, quote unquote, right? Or play fair. They can fight you with their hands, or they can throw a brick at you.
Oh, we already they're not playing fair now, are they?
So at this point, something has to give. It's going to be a major strain to the American people, as we know. And you have to drum up that support, getting that word out. You have to drum up support for it before you can go. He's already asking for the money. He's always asking for the support.
Yeah, and let's see what happens considering the mess in the house right now.
You feel me? We're talking about a government shutdown looming. We're talking about all that other infighting between the Republicans and everything else. We're talking about all this other stuff. Now we're actually funding two efforts on two different soils for.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He said that it's going to pay out dividends for generations to come. Only time will tell. There's no guarantee, Mr. President. With all due respect, sir, there's no guarantee that will happen. We don't know for sure. Only time will be the greatest determinant of that. So we will have to see.
Yeah.
Folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about healthy schools. Let's talk about this latest effort to make sure that our schools are clean, safe, and healthy for our children. We're going to be checking in with one school recipient who is doing their work and their part to make sure their schools is healthy in the state of Maryland. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Faraji Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for The Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now
We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Let's talk about keeping America's schools healthy. Last week, the Alliance for a Healthier Generation has hosted a special summit of school and districts leaders for its America's Healthiest Schools Leaders Summit, which happened in Washington, D.C. And this was a summit that recognized those schools that truly use best practices to advance the physical, mental, and emotional health of staff and students. And so today, we wanted to have a conversation with just one of the schools that has made this situation a reality. And I'm very, very happy to have her joining us today. She is the, let me make sure we got her right here, folks. And that's my mistake. There we go. We have Bella Desai. Thank you so much, Bella. Bella Desai, wellness coach, focused intervention ELD teacher at Burtonsville Elementary School in Burtonsville, Maryland. She's joining us today to talk to us about this Healthy School Initiative. Bella, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I had to pull up your information there, just to make sure we had everything that we needed. But I thank you so much for being on the show today. Also, of course, folks, we are still joined by my sister, Corinna Denise, who is an educator and understands the importance of maintaining a healthy schools. So, Corinna, we definitely want your voice to be a part of this conversation. First and foremost, Bella, talk to us about this whole process, this Leader Summit. What happened last week? And what does it mean to be a healthy school?
So all over the nation, almost 700 plus schools were invited to celebrate the wellness that is mentally, emotionally, and physically that's going on in all around the United States. And Healthier Generations supports us with resources and all the information that we need or how to go about keeping the kids healthy. And since COVID, this was the first time we all got together, got to see each other's faces and celebrate that good thing that's happening with our students in the school system from elementary, middle, and high school.
Mm. Now, your school was awarded this very distinguished honor. Is that correct? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, so our school was awarded. We missed out by one being the All-Star School, and hopefully we'll go for that next year. But with family engagement, social, emotional wellness, and that community engagement, we cannot do it all alone. So with Burtonsville vision and mission to create like a nurtured, equitable community, this is a job of not one person. Even though I do all the applications for the healthier generations, this involves staff, students, administration, thanks to Miss Lloyd and Miss Goborn, who's the principal and assistant principal. We started small. This is my third year at Burtonsville, but I have been with Healthier Generation for almost 7 to 8 years. I was at Arcole Elementary before. I continue doing that. At Burtonsville, we started small with wellness breaks for students, teachers. I walk around the hallway to pick up my students for the class, and I see them having brain breaks because just physical education time is not enough. They have recess, but the teachers are giving those brain breaks to make that intellectual ability stronger. And at Burtonsville this year, we are also starting the hydroponics in the whole school. So Green Our Planet is a grant that we got, and we have hydroponic system in 19 classrooms at school where students are growing lettuce, herbs, and then we'll be seeding for next year for summer. So I'm looking forward to see what happens next with Burtonsville because I'm really excited to bring that hydroponics to our school. And, students need a break from learning, and they get that few minutes to look at that seed growing into a tiny plant, and just that distracts them for their worries or any issues they are having.
Right.
It is really, I'm seeing a positive effects. And this week we started that whole hydroponic system, and just to see those kids like, is that tiny seed of lettuce? Are you sure it's going to be lettuce? And just like I planted seeds in the system 3 days ago, and already the little sprouts are coming up. And I went to see the students, and they're like so excited. So I think we are lucky to have our PTA, great support with Burtonsville Elementary School. And it's like an inclusive community. It's not a one-person job again. And we are thriving to improve the food and nutrition access. Burtonsville's monthly family market where families, teachers, we all go and get fresh produce and groceries. And I'm hoping that with hydroponics, we are going to add that to the table once we start growing that.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Corinna, what's your take on what's happening at Burtonsville that Bella is sharing? And just larger, this whole program of Healthier Generations, they have this year's cohort of awardees, 781 schools from 36 states, Corinna, is the largest in the program's history. So you're talking about a lot of schools falling in line with this criteria of being a healthy generational school. What's your take on that as an educator?
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. I really related to the brain breaks that you mentioned, Bella. Being a former teacher, you definitely need those brain breaks, especially for the kids, the older kids who are switching classes throughout the day. You're just going from one to the next, right? Yeah. And we know that lunch isn't always, long enough for them to, de-escalate and collect themselves and, have that boost of energy to finish out the school day. But something I also like to ask, how is this playing a role into maybe school lunch? Because I know while the kids are, learning these nutritional skills and being able to go home and prepare meals and snacks and maybe bring lunch, how does that play into maybe school lunch? Are there any ideas there? Because I know depending on the state that you live in, sometimes school lunch, you have your good days and your bad days. You're like, okay, the pizza day is okay, but that chicken pot pie day, we're not feeling it so much. So like, how you playing a role in school lunch? I'm just being honest, because as a teacher, sometimes, the kids will let you know this food is not hit and miss. So I'm just curious about that.
No, I'm telling you, since we got one hydroponic system 2 years ago, and we've been growing lettuce on there, and students get to come and taste the lettuce. We rotate every grade level. And our school cafeteria, we do have carrots, cucumbers, salad, and students are eating that. But when they got that taste of the hydroponic straight, like today we had our first grade hydroponic system. I just quickly helped. Mr. Zimmerman is expert at our school. We miss Miss Constance Sain, who was also a part of the wellness community, but Mr. Zimmerman, myself, and Miss Rufa is another data person, because we keep ongoing data on what's going on at school and what's working and what's not working. So this year we are ensuring that we collect data, how many students get that latest tasting. And with the school lunch, we are hoping that what we grow in our hydroponic system, we would like to add that to the lunch.
Yeah.
And if not to the lunch, students are, today I did 3 classes to start the hydroponic system. And the students are like, how many more days until we get to taste the lettuce? And I'm like, you're not going to taste it this time. You're really going to enjoy like a salad. Teachers are already planning like a salad party in the classroom.
This is dope, man.
Yeah.
Even
this is awesome.
Happening at lunchtime, to have this in your classroom and said, hey, come on, let's make a lettuce. Kids are like, oh, I'll bring the dressing. I'll bring the croutons or, cheese. And we are also planning basil. So one teacher was like, oh, I can make mozzarella, tomato, basil, lettuce, like Capri salad. So the teachers are so involved. And again, going back to what I was saying, that yes, this is a big take on the hydroponics and healthy eating. We have an outdoor courtyard where we grow our lettuce and tomatoes and whatnot. But our PTA is a great support. We have a pond that we have a brand new pond. It was already there, but it was not in a working condition. So these little knickknacks are, I think, really must for the physical well-being. It's mentally and emotionally strengthening, right? Like you say, take a brain break. You don't want a brain break in a class, go out and walk. I mean, I personally have been experimenting on myself, like how much gardening has helped me, and I want to share with the students. And
hey, Bella, I want to do this. We got to take a quick pause, but when we come forward, let's talk a little bit about that and some of our culture crew members, Bella.
Okay.
They have some questions about this and some thoughts about this idea of creating healthier schools. And so, folks, we're going to continue our conversation on the other side as we talk about Burtonville Elementary and how Bella and other staff and teachers at this school in Maryland is doing its part to make sure that the physical, emotional, and social emotional space of schools is much healthier for students. So stay with us. That conversation will continue on the other side right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Faraji Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the Black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating Black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking Black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood, starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking to Bella Desai, who is the wellness coach. She's also the focus and intervention ELD teacher at Burtonsville Elementary in Burtonsville, Maryland, talking about how this school and her and the other staff members at Burtonsville Elementary were recently honored as one of America's healthiest schools during Healthier Generations, Healthiest Schools Leader Summit that happened last weekend. And Bella, thank you again for joining us. And again, we got to say it. Congratulations to you and to the staff and to the personnel at Burtonsville Elementary for the great work that y'all are doing around this issue of making sure that those students are getting the necessary support for healthier physical body, mental capability, and social emotional space that they can go to. So it makes a world of difference when you start off, especially at the elementary school level, you start off at a high expectation and you're meeting those expectations. I want to get some comments from our online culture crew because folks are loving, Bella, what Burtonsville Elementary is doing. Thank you. Let me just say this. Cindy D checked in. She said, many people in America don't have food, water, etc. As another culture crew member, Sean Ryan said, we have a great homeless problem, food insecurity for children, etc. America has a war on poverty problem. So a lot of times, I guess the socioeconomic status determines how healthy of a space that you are in for schools. And we see this across this country, that some of those students who are in low-income households, they have the least amount of access to real resources, to real food, to real opportunities. Talk to us about that, if you can.
So I can tell you that I myself had little struggles growing up in India, and I would not want anyone go to sleep at night without food, right? So the Healthier Generations really helps us with the mental, emotional, physical well-being of our students. And before I moved to Burtonsville, I worked at Arcola, which is like a Title I school in Montgomery County. And when COVID hit us, I knew that so many of our families will need that support. And I got an idea of calling the wholesale food market in Jessup, Maryland. And I would go Saturday morning. So many people supported me in that good doing. I would pick whatever they gave me for donations. I would bring it back to the community. Seeing lines and lines of students and the family members, because it was COVID, we were not going out for shopping. It really made me feel like how important healthy eating is to the well-being of just well-being of the family. So I think it is something, if we teach kids at younger age, you don't have like grow your own food. It's not expensive. If I teach them something right now, it's an access we are giving, right? Like a portable ways of growing something. But if they know how to survive, and that's it, I hope for that. When I saw those long lines of families waiting to get that food on a Saturday morning in freezing winter, January, February, right? I am really, really determined to do what will be good for the community. And I will not stop. I will guide who I work with. And I'm very lucky all these years. All my principals have supported me in this mission and vision. And I know all the teachers in the county, I can tell that everyone comes with a good heart to help the students and teach them how to take care of themselves. And we can't end poverty. I don't know how, but we can give resources to our young minds to survive. And I think they learned that in elementary school. And, I just hope,
Absolutely.
yeah, we can
Yeah,
keep.
absolutely. I totally understand. Corinna, one of our crew members, Sharon Brooks, she said, I wish more schools, especially those in challenging areas, use less cinder blocks. I feel the kids may be being groomed. Courts and prisons all have the same aesthetics. So we've been talking about food, we've been talking about growing food, but it's even the physical look of the school. When you remove the cinder blocks and barriers, where you may not have as many police that's outwardly present. I mean, this makes all of the difference in a child's mind on how they see themselves, right, Corinna?
Yes, it does. And you're spending your time in that school building, even as a student or an educator or an administrator, like that's where you are a majority of the day, right? With your colleagues, the students, your peers, more than even your own family. So imagine if that environment isn't comfortable for a child, then how do you expect them to do well academically, right? And to do all these other things that are expected of them. But yeah, with good food, and gardening could be so relaxing. So I think that's a great stress reliever and an outlet for the kids as well. So I think this is great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Bella, we got about 30 seconds. What's the next step for Burtonsville Elementary and the work y'all are doing with Healthier Generation?
Participate in the food markets. I hope we can do that and serve the greater community. So I hope we grow enough that we can bring it to our family markets every month. And
that would be awesome.
That is awesome.
And
that would be incredible.
One last thing, I know
Yes.
it's hard to go out of the cinder blocks, but at Burtonsville, we started a wellness room where, Miss Miller, who is our wellness, she's a staff development, and she started the wellness room. I put in the plants, whatever little small plant you bring in, please do it. I'm telling you, kids love having plants, greenery. You can go out, bring the green to your classroom. That's my last message that I would give it to the rest of the teachers.
I love it.
Who can
I love it. Well, Bella, I want to say on behalf of the culture crew, on behalf of the culture here at the Black Star Network, you are doing a phenomenal job that is absolutely essential for the culture. So I truly congratulate you. We honor you and all of those staff members and team members that you're working with there at Burtonsville Elementary School in Burtonsville, Maryland. And keep being a shining light. Keep being a shining light. And I wish I was back in Maryland to taste some of the food y'all were growing. I'm out here in California. Go
I
ahead,
love
Karina.
how involved the parents are.
Makes a world of difference.
Yes.
I mean, the beautification, you should see how a pond was put up by a parent that not a working pond. He worked for 4 or 5 hours straight to have that thing working.
Wow.
I don't think that's what I'm saying. This is a teamwork, and I feel like I'm a part of a team. This is happening. It's not a one-person job. So
no,
even if you start with 2 or 3 people,
that's all it takes. Hey, Bella, I'm so happy that you said that. I'm so happy. Sometimes people think change requires hundreds of people, but it just takes 2 or 3 people. If you have 2 or 3 parents, and I know some folks in the chat are saying, well, the parents got to get involved. Imagine if for those of us who are concerned about our children's health, are concerned about what's going on in the schools, 2 or 3 parents can make a world of difference in any school. Trust and believe, because parent engagement is not that high in schools across this country. So if you got 3 or 4, or hell, if you got 5 parents that come up to a meeting every week, or they on the grounds planting stuff, makes a huge world of difference. A world of difference. Bella, thank you so much for checking in. We truly appreciate it.
Coffee and caregivers to appreciate our Burtonsville parents. They came, visited, and I'm telling you, thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Bella. Thank you. And my sister, Corinna Denise. Corinna, thank you so much for joining us for a few minutes today. God willing, we'll be back next week, and we will certainly have you for the full hour. But I know you're about to enjoy this next edition, the final talk of the Black Men Summit. So I appreciate you. Thank you, Corinna.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, it is the final day of the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining, and celebrating Black manhood. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Ray Winbush, Elijah Miles, and of course with you as we talk about Black men in the family and community. So stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture. Welcome to The Culture's Black Men Summit, day 5 of our summit as we are redefining and celebrating Black manhood. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Man, oh man, first, it has been a phenomenal week here on The Culture as we've been having these conversations. Now, we started this conversation talking about the Black man as an individual, right? We talked about the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March. That was a call to action for Black men to atone, reconcile, and take responsibility. That was an individual effort. Well, we wanted to end the conversation about black men focusing on themselves, not on themselves, but on their families and their communities. That's the progression of the week, folks. That's the thinking behind these conversations, that a black man as an individual grows into his understanding of the role that he plays as himself, but more importantly, the role that he plays within given family unit, a community unit, a given structure. It's important that black men see the evolution and the progression of their role. So we wanted to have that final conversation. That's why I'm wearing my shirt, y'all. Dope Black Dad. Look, there is no future for Faraji Muhammad if I'm not in the best mind state for my children. My son Nigel, my daughter Nyana. I could be all I want to be by myself, but it is for them that I have to lay the foundation so that way their future is even brighter than mine. So that's the process of this. Now, as we have this conversation, of course, we want to invite you to join us as we're streaming live right now on Roland Martin's YouTube page. And you can join us in the chat as a Culture Crew member for today. And we would love to hear from you. Now, my first guest in this conversation is a brother who I have a great amount of love and respect for. He's never talking about madness or foolishness. When you follow him on social media, you're going to learn something from this brother. And so I am so happy and honored and privileged to once again talk to my brother about this. He is the author of the book, The Warrior Method, How to Raise Black Boys, a book that I have tapped into when I had my first child, my son. And let me just tell y'all, I tell this story all the time, but it was Dr. Wimbush that gave me the insight on what it means to be a great father, the great wisdom that he imparted to me. When I told him, I said, Doc, I'm having a son. What do I do? And I literally said to this man, I don't know how to be a man. He kind of laughed at me. He said, Faraji, I'm only going to give you one piece of advice. Just be yourself. That's right. And everything else will come to you. And I never, ever, ever forgot that. As my son is 10 years old, my daughter is 4, never forgot that. Be yourself. So I want to welcome, he's an author of the book, he's a professor, he's a researcher, and we are so happy to have him back on the show, Dr. Ray Wimbush. Dr. Wimbush.
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm trying to be dope.
You're my spirit son, because, you know, my son name is Faraji too. He has one eye in his name, and
I have 2 eyes. Isn't that crazy, y'all? Look at that.
All by design.
It's all by design. Dr. Wimbush, once again, we are always a blessing to have you. Let's talk a little bit about this role of Black men in the family. I want to start it off here because there has often been, we had a conversation yesterday about Black men in our presentation and representation in mass media. And I think that a lot of times the conversation about the role of Black men is predicated upon the narrative that is put out through mass media. But I want to go deeper than that, Doc, because I feel like when we talk about mass media, that's still the enemy of our rise, still control that, right? And that's outside of us. I want to talk about when you have Black men who choose to show up in their children's lives, right? Who choose, regardless of the circumstances of their relationship, the distance, the physical distance, or even legal challenges, that they made a decision to show up. That's the different type of Black man, and that's the brothers I want to just kind of highlight today, because I think it's important that it's not just say, oh, if we had more media representation, we would see an increase in Black male engagement in their family. Now, let me just debunk this myth. Black men are the most engaged men in the country with their children. There have been actual reports about this, and I know Doc can speak on that, but I want to let y'all know, if you did not know, Black men are the most engaged men. They did a study that said that Black men will play, dress up, do makeup, and have tea more than any other groups of fathers in the country.
Well, you're absolutely correct. And I think what happens is that too often Black folk believe the hype about us in general, but particularly about Black men. And as you said, the study you quoted is from the Pew Foundation. and they did an empirical study, said that Black men, even if they're divorced, even if they're separated, they have far more contact with their children than do white men. But see, the image is that somehow Black men are absentee fathers, or they're just not being good to their children or around their children and so forth. I always tell people the first absentee fathers in this country were white men who raped Black women during enslavement and did not raise their children.
Damn.
And you have to say, Adlai Stevens, she says that she's a great educator, and she says that Black men are the only men that raised the children of their wife's rapists, because we knew that some of those children were not ours. We knew, but we still raised them. So we have always been good fathers. And I know people will say something like this: well, the one I got ain't good, or the one that I know growing up, I never knew him. You're one person, but as a whole, Black men are probably the best fathers in this country.
Wow. We're going to take a quick pause on that. And then when we come forward, I'm going to continue this conversation. We're going to bring in our brother, Elijah Miles, who founded an organization called the Tendia Family. We're going to have him to explain that work and the work that he's doing to advocate and encourage more Black men to not just get involved in their family, but in community life. So we got a lot to talk about on today's edition of the Black Men's Summit here on The Culture. Stay with us. The conversation will continue on the other side.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Today is the final conversation, the final installment of the summit. And today we're focusing on Black men in family and community life. And joining us for this conversation has been Dr. Ray Winbush, who is the author of the book, The Warrior Method, How to Raise Black Boys. He's also a professor at Morgan State University, a researcher and an advocate of Black manhood and fathers in the community. And we're also joined by my brother Elijah Miles. Now, y'all remember Elijah used to be on a show early in the earlier stages of the show's growth and development. My brother has expanded since then. He has now serving as the founder of the nonprofit organization, the Tendea Family. He started a family on his own. He just comes back to the culture a whole different man. Let's bring Brother Elijah Miles back in. And peace and blessings, Brother Elijah. How are you, dear brother?
Hey, peace. I'm doing well. I got you mention that I'm a Morgan grad, since you got the letter.
Oh, yes. You got to mention that. Got to mention that. You are a Morgan State bear, brother. So you definitely are doing a thing. Let's talk a little bit about the work that you're doing. Your community organization is called the Tendea Family. Mm-hmm. First, talk to us. What does that mean? And why did you decide to take on that approach to community organizing?
So back when I was at Morgan State University, in the aftermath of the Freddie Gray uprisings, myself and some students from Tendea, some students from Morgan State University, and then also some people that wasn't a part of at Morgan State, we basically, what happened is that in that aftermath, when we saw CNN and MSNBC and all of the civil rights legends from around the world come to Baltimore City, and then we seen after they left and the cameras left that much on the ground didn't change, we said that it's going to take more than a moment, a protest, a situation that's going to change Baltimore City. It's going to take Black men and boys coming together, sacrificing time, money, energy, effort to shift and change things. And that's what's going to change Baltimore City. And so to the best of our ability, we've been doing that work ever since. Tendea, the word Tendea is Kiswahili slang for hustle. And hustle is the acronym for our founding principles: honor, unity, sacrifice, trust, love, and excellence. And lastly, I would say that Tendea is not a new organization in our methods and our goals. We walking in the footsteps, to the best of our ability, of the UNIA, Malcolm X, and the NOI, and also the Black Panther Party for self-defense, and trying to continue that work and continue and get to those goals that our ancestors set out to get to, that fell short of, or transition before the time.
Brother Elijah, and then I'm gonna get your take on this, Dr. Winbush. But Brother Elijah, your approach, as you're talking about the traditions that y'all are working in, your approach has been more of, look, brothers, y'all need to get to work. Y'all need to come and get involved. You need to get involved and see yourself as part of the family, leading the family. What's been some of the ways that you've been doing that, and what has been the response that you've gotten from Black men?
So how we've been doing it is a real direct action, boots on the ground approach. So we do community cleanups every week, community cleanups and giveaways, mostly in East Baltimore and the McElderly Park community, or as we know it, is down the hill. And it's a practical way of mobilizing people and getting people out. Another way we've been doing it is getting people that's from different walks of life. College students, getting college students to come out, getting people that didn't graduate from high school to come out, getting the youth to come out. But it's about in our community showing face and being represented, especially as men, being involved inside our community, because we believe in Tendea that the 9-to-5 Black man, the Black man that go to work and come home, the Black man that ain't on the corner, the Black man that ain't, ain't a part of the statistics that they say about Baltimore City about Black men. We believe that those Black men have to get involved, because it's a whole lot of young men that's out here that are without men in their lives. And when the Black men that are on the straight path, the right path, whatever you call it, when they get involved, the thing can shift in every neighborhood, not just in Baltimore City, but around the country, in Chicago and New York. And so we take a real practical, hands-on approach, and we create programs so that men can get active and come out and do something practical that shift and change their community and mentor the youth.
Very quickly, Brother Elijah, then I'm going to Dr. Wimbush. What is that? Who inspired you? Have you talk to us about the father figures or your dad in your life, and because how did you get to this place at such a young age?
So I was honored to have a father in my life. My father, he was 48 when he had me. He fought in the Vietnam War. Even though I'm a young man, he was an older guy. And basically, I had a father in my life. I had big brothers in my life, older brothers. I had mentors, but I would say one of the people that changed my life was in middle school. I had a middle school teacher named Mr. Scott, and he had like natural form locks. You know, the locks you don't get retwisted. And so naturally from Baltimore City, I thought he was a Jamaican. So I never forget, Brother Faraji. He had this red, black, and green flag on his desk when I was in the 7th grade. And one time I asked Mr. Scott, who flag is that? Thinking he would say Jamaica. And he stopped what he was doing. And he'll never forget, he said, Elijah, that's your flag. And then from that point on, he began to mentor me about Black history, giving me books about Malcolm X, Native Son, Black Boy, the autobiography of Malcolm X, teaching me about Garvey. And then he began to break the narrative that I had received from society, from the music, from the movies, that a Black man is a killer, a robber, and a drug dealer. And he began to build in me that to be a Black man is to be as Malcolm X was, to be as Garvey was. And that I had a duty, I had a purpose to push the Black community forward as a Black man. And so he broke down that idea of the real N-word in my mind. And I no longer strove to be that, because I was striving to be that, even as a middle schooler. And he put that image of like Black men fighting for their community, this long line of Black men are fighting for a community. I was born a part of this basic fraternity of Black men, and that I had to, carry it on as such. And so Mr. Scott, I would say, is one of the most pivotal people in my life and in my development.
Damn. Dr. Wimbush, you can't. I mean, you're working, you're a father and you're a professor, you're an educator. That's a powerful story. I'm sure that you probably heard many stories like this of Black brothers, young brothers who come into their own and who have a greater consciousness. And as a psychologist, talk to us about this. Like, put that little seed in a Black boy's head to make him think differently from what other people have told him outside and influences. What is really going on in that process? Give us some insight into that moment.
Well, Brother Elijah is what you call in Ethiopia a jegna. And a jegna is hard to translate it, but it's a man who loves his community, will protect his community, will die for his community, and who builds his community. And I can tell by what Brother Elijah is saying, he has a comprehensive view of the Black community, and he wants to do something more about it. It's hard to say what triggers, there's a term in psychology called negrescence. And Charles Thomas talked about how there's triggering moments in Black people's lives that he called negrescence, and it can be a pivotal event. In my life, it was reading Black Boy when I was in the 8th grade. And after I read that book, things just shifted, the whole world. And then reading Francis Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Papers, those books just shifted me. And sometimes it can be an experience. It can be an event. I heard Brother Elijah say after the Freddie Gray murder in Baltimore. And those are the types of events that trigger people. One white psychologist calls it a pacer. And I think that Black folk, you don't make them or you don't create them. They just happen. And it triggers in you a consciousness. For Malcolm, for example, it happened when he was in prison. So it doesn't have to happen in school. It can be on the playground. It can be somewhere. And so Brother Elijah reflects the best of what a jegna is all about.
Wow. Wow, that's heavy. That's a great compliment there, bro. That is an awesome compliment. Look, brothers, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue to talk about this. Plus, I got some comments from our online culture crew that's checking in from around the country. Folks, stay with us. We're continuing the conversation with Dr. Ray Winbush, Brother Elijah Miles, and certainly you, as we are at our final conversation for the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. I could not end this conference any other better way than having these dope brothers joining me to talk about Black men in family and community life, folks. So stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side, right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When you go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop in a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not gonna like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm gonna make your life a living hell.
Folks, welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. We've been talking about Black men in family and community life, and I have two dynamic Black men joining me today for this special conversation, the last conversation for our summit. Joining us has been Dr. Ray Winbush, who serves as the author of the book, The Warrior Method, How to Raise Black Boys. He's also a professor and researcher at Morgan State University. And also joining us is Brother Elijah Miles, who is an activist and founder of the nonprofit organization, the Tendare Family. And he's doing some dynamic work as an alumni of Morgan State University. So that just goes to show you what kind of power is coming out of MSU. But Doc, let me just first talk about something that I think a lot of people tend to lean on, which is policy and institutionalizing certain type of policy, right? I know that there is a U.S. House of Representative member, Representative Frederica Wilson of Florida's 24th District. She organized with the support of Omega Psi Phi a policy talk involving the fraternity and researchers and other Black men to create the Congressional Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys, which is planning to produce some research that looks at the disparities and misconception around Black men. She made this point that she said, think about how this group, speaking of brothers, was dogged by the school to prison pipeline, mass incarceration, health disparities, and continuing to shoulder the gun violence epidemic, spends more time with their children than other groups of men. So she's outlining all of these challenges, yet there still needs to be some policy around debunking some myths and really raising and acknowledging Black men. How important is it, Doc, that we do have policies or do have commissions like this in the big scheme of things? Is this the direction we need to go, or do we need to take another approach to at least change the conversation about Black men and families and community?
Well, I think, commissions are good. The CBC meeting every September is good. But, the fact of the matter, Faraji, is that we know everything about Black boys and Black men. There's not anything about Black people that we don't know. The issue is how to implement it, how, as you said, to turn it into policy and then follow through on that policy. I've been on state commissions here in Maryland where we studied the Black man for a year or two. We do, put out a shiny report and it gets put on the shelf because nobody has the guts, to be very honest, to implement it through legislation. There's groups in Baltimore, like Leaders of the Black Struggle, that they focus on policy relating to Black folk. But we need that at the federal level as well as the state level. I've just been put on the, as you know, another one of my, passions is the issue of reparations for
absolutely
people. And I just been put on the Baltimore City Council Commission on Reparations. I'm very
that's awesome.
interested in, policy. And I think that I tell all Black organizations that they ought to have a lobbyist. They need to be down in the state of Maryland and Annapolis doing something to change the system. Again, we've got a lot of commissions. We've got books and pamphlets and just, almost encyclopedic knowledge about Black people. But when it comes to implementing things that will make a difference in our community, we lack that. And that takes guts.
And then that's what we saw with President Obama with the My Brother's Keepers campaign and organization. He was trying to institutionalize some things. I know in the city of Baltimore under former Mayor Catherine Pugh, she institutionalized the African-American Male Leadership Initiative, creating the whole office of that's completely dedicated to Black men achieving in the city of Baltimore. And so some people say this is necessary. This should be done. And Brother Elijah, you work on the ground. You're in the grassroots side of things, right? How important is concretizing policy around the treatment, around the perception of Black men? How important is that for you in your work?
It's completely important. And we really support organizations and entities that's doing it. So when Dr. Ray Winbush is talking about LBS, man, they're an excellent organization. And what I love about LBS and organizations like LBS is that they really stand for Black people, and they're unbridled by the other interest groups that are in Annapolis and in other places. And so we definitely need policies, and we need organizations, and we need to fund those organizations that's doing that so that they can stay free and working for our benefit. And so LBS does a great job of that. The Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement with Dr. Bunley do a great job of on the ground work with Black men and boys. And I think, policy has to happen. I think it's I'm forgetting his name, but it's a mayor that said this one time that basically what the policymakers and the mayors and the politicians are supposed to do is give us cover fire so that the organizations can do what we do within community. So grassroots and policy got to go hand in hand. And so when you're on the ground doing your work, your ability to do your work on another level has to be supported by those people that's in those places. And if we don't have people in those places, we have to force those people in those places do what the Black community needs them to do.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other, go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, real quick, what Elijah said is so important. You see white folks, they'll have like one issue campaigns, like they said, do you support the Second Amendment? Are you for or against abortion? Do you want a balanced budget? We have to start asking our elected officials, not the ones who are running for office, but those who are already in office, whether or not they give cover fire the way Elijah just said. So we've got to hold those who are getting elected accountable to do and implement the policy that we talk about in the barbershop, on the street corner, but they have to be the ones to implement it. And we've got to hold them accountable.
Hey, Dr. Winbush, and I want to share this very quickly, and then I want to get your take. McCall Spicer, you said we don't need any more studies on Black men, Black families, etc. Like the professor said, we need implementation at this point. Absolutely. I remember having a conversation just on this show and other spaces, Dr. and Brother Elijah, where I'm like, if we look at the past 40 years, 50 years in this country, there have been more marches. Black folks have marched more times than I think of any group of people. We've come up, and Dr. Winbush, you know this because you've been a part of these conversations, more national agendas. I mean, whole books, Doc, whole books of ideas. And I mean, these ain't terrible ideas. You've been a part of those conversations where you had literally hundreds of organizations that have convened today over the past 25, 30 years. I'm thinking from the Million Man March, even from the Great March on Washington, all of this stuff, all of these recommendations. And I feel like these are good ideas that are just sitting, as you say, sitting on the shelves. But we're the first to talk about the Moynihan report said this, or we pull up some the Pew Research or the Brookings Institute, which is fine. But you do have credible recommendations on how to address all of those issues that are laid out in those other pieces of data. And I'm trying to say, how is it that we have this disconnect? If we know that Black men are in trouble, in a crisis moment, why do we keep going back and saying, where are the answers? We got the answers. Look at history.
That's right. We already have that. I said in the warrior method, enough of, we need to have a door of return to what has kept us. See, if I was a white supremacist, the first person that I would attack would be the Black male, because he is the progenitor of all humanity with Black women. And see, that's the threat. It's the nature of the threat that a lot of us have talked about. I think sometimes, to be honest with you, just straight up, that a lot of Black elected officials, they're just comfortable being an elected official. And they count on the fact that their constituents won't hold them accountable for some of the things that they need. I have never met a Black elected official that does not know about the plight of the Black male. And instead of just, reciting the data over and over again, or saying we need another commission or another study to do that, they need to say, what can we do in terms of legislation? That's very important.
Very important. Look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, I want to talk about something that I think we often don't talk about. Dr. Winbush, I need to get your psychological expertise on this, because as much as Black men are going through these challenges, the other thing is that Black men are in a state of loneliness. And this is not just affecting Black men, this is also affecting men in general, that there is a high rate of male loneliness in this country where men do not feel emotionally supported, do not have friends. And they have even gone as far as to say there's a friendship deficit among men. And so, Brother Elijah, I want to get your take on as well, because when you're talking about building the family, there has to be a brotherhood. There has to be a space to be supported. So we're going to have that part of the conversation up next, folks, as we continue in our discussion about Black men and family and community life here on the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Stay with us. You're tuning to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Peace, I'm Faraji Muhammad, host of The Culture. And brothers, we need to talk. There's been much discussion about the state of the black man in our community, whether it's in politics, education, or in the home. My brothers, we are struggling to lead the way, which is why The Culture will be hosting the Black Men Summit, where we'll be redefining and celebrating black manhood. This special series will kick off on the 28th anniversary of the historic Million Man March on Monday, October the 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking to some of Black America's most prolific, dynamic, thought-provoking black men activists, scholars, and leaders about our role, our power, and our future. So tune in and join the conversation as an online culture crew member for the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating black manhood. Starting Monday, October 16th through Friday, October 20th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time each day, right here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, welcome back to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and certainly celebrating black manhood. This is our final installment of this week's special series, where we're talking about black men in their family and black men in community life. And joining me has been Brother Elijah Miles, who's an activist and founder of the Tendea Family Organization, and Brother Dr. Ray Winbush, who is the author of the book, The Warrior Method, as well as a researcher and professor at Morgan State University. Brothers, I want to kind of get your take on this because as I was, we were preparing for the show and preparing for this conversation, I did find that this is an issue that I don't think we talk too much about, which is that there is a high rate of male loneliness in this country, not just facing black men, but facing a lot of men as well, and what they call the friendship deficit. This is coming from a writer. I want to just quote this writer whose name is Shannon Carpenter. He's a writer. He's author of the book, The Ultimate Stay-at-Home Dad. He's a married father of 3, but he wrote this piece for CNN. Take a look at this, folks. He said this: in the United States, many men have become disconnected from societal institutions that have anchored dads to each other and our community. Historically, men have made long-term bonds through religious institutions and friendships at work. Our sense of worth derived from what we could provide our family. He said, what's more, men in today's society may view deep relationships as not masculine, thus further isolating themselves. Only 48% of men reported feeling satisfied with friendships, according to a May 2021 survey by the Survey Center on American Life, as previously reported by CNN. And 1 in 5 men said they have gotten emotional support from a friend in the past week, compared with 4 in 10 women.
Brother,
we are at a state of loneliness. Go ahead, Brother Doc. Go ahead and talk to me.
Brother Elijah handled this one, and then I'm going to say something about it. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Brother Elijah.
One of the things that it makes me think about is that what we don't understand when we think about enslavement and colonization and what we were robbed of is that we are thrust into a culture of individualism. And in the culture of individualism, a man provides for his family, his little nuclear family, and he basically alone on an island. But that's not how we did things in our past, in our African past. We came from a collective culture where men did their duties as men, did their work as men in collectives. And so in Tendea Family, we feel a bridge for that because in Tendea Family, we have a brotherhood. And we're not the first organization to have a brotherhood, but the reason we feel like it was needed to have a brotherhood is based on what Brother Faraji was just laying out, is that men need connection. Black men need connection. They need those common values. And as our community moves away from the church, the mosque is more atheist now than ever, we still have to have brotherhood and have community and have bonds we can trust. I meet too many black boys in and males that say, man, I don't trust nobody. It's like, you don't trust nobody? Come
Right.
on. So
right.
It has to be brotherhood. And when we look at Minister Malcolm X, who they present us as an individual, or Martin Luther King, who they present us as an individual, or even Garvey, who they present us as an individual, all of these people are part of organizations and part of brotherhoods. In the work that they did was always done in community with other men and also women. And so, like, brotherhood is so essential and so needed. And whether you're a 9-to-5 working black man, a working class black man, a white collar, blue collar, we have to have these bonds of brotherhood if we are to survive, not just physically, but psychologically and as a real people in a real community. So that's what makes me come to mind.
That's absolutely what I had in mind. And Dr. Wimbush, as a psychologist, when a man feels isolated, when he feels disconnected, earlier in the week, we talked about black men in politics. We reference how one brother down in Georgia says that he feels like he's being ignored by both political parties. Like, if we are out there on an island as black men, then when we make the call for black men to come together, do something for their family, do something for the community, it's a foreign call. They don't understand the language. It doesn't resonate with them. And there's a psychological impact of that, right? If a man can't express himself, he don't feel supported, nobody's listening to him. I would think, Doc, he's a volcano waiting to explode.
Well, yeah, the thing about it, historically, it's been dangerous for black men to talk about their feelings. You could be killed if you told the so-called massa on a plantation, look, boss, I'm working too hard, I need to take a break. Then after enslavement, they had loitering laws. Even nowadays, if you can be 3 or 4 black men standing on the corner just talking, shooting the breeze, no problem, and cops will drive up, and just say, what you doing? It's like we're not supposed to associate with each other. So I think that what happened, men with themselves have to learn to talk about their feelings, and men have to learn to talk about their feelings to our sisters as well, because our sisters have to learn to listen. We have to learn to listen to our sisters, and sometimes there's a gap in communication. As a psychologist, I've had many couples in therapy, they just don't talk to each other about anything substantive. So sometimes I've told them, have one night of the week, you turn the television off, you close your social media down, and you talk to each other. Even if you have kids, talk to the children with you as mother and father or whatever. But a lot of times we just don't encourage discussion among ourselves, especially about our field.
And Doc, very quickly, our sister, late great sister, Bell Hooks, she put in that book, The Will to Change, when she said, and I'll never forget reading this, and when you talked about one of those books that changed your life, The Will to Change just completely changed my life, brother Ray. But she said that when a man does open up, women, particularly black women, get afraid, don't know how to handle it. Because one, if a man shows his vulnerability, it shows a side of weakness that black women are conditioned to believe that black men don't have because of everything up from patriarchal systems and whatnot. So the women don't know how to handle that. As much as women are saying, look, I want a man that's emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, a man that's in tune with his emotions. Can you handle the emotions of a man who feels powerless outside in the world? Or when he comes home, he feels like he doesn't have too much of a say. Can you handle a man opening up about him feeling like what's happening on the job, he's not getting enough money, whereas you're making more money than he is, and he doesn't fit? So how do you resolve that? Because we know that can open the Pandora's box, Doc, to everything from domestic violence and abuse to child abuse. I mean, there's a lot that could potentially happen in the wrong direction.
Well, it is. I can remember real quick, conducting this black male female seminar a couple of years ago. In fact, it was down at the Reggie Lewis Library downtown. And this sister stood up and said, look, I really want to know, what do black men feel? I want to, somebody just tell me. And on the other side of the room, this brother was ready to stand up to tell her that. And then this other sister stood up and said, they don't know what, their own feeling. I don't know why you listening to black men. And see, we got to get out of that. And so the brothers looked at me like, you see what I'm talking about? We've got to encourage each other to tell about our feelings, to tell how we feel. And it does open up a Pandora box. And both black men and black women have to be able to, deal with that, listen to it. And sometimes we need to simply listen more than we need to talk about stuff. We really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Folks, we got to take another pause. When we come back, let's continue the conversation on the other side. You're tuning to the Culture's Black Men Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting, you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We're having the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. And I am just overwhelmed with joy that on the final day of this summit, we are having this part of the conversation talking about Black men and family and community life with two dynamic brothers who I have nothing but love and great respect for. Dr. Ray Winbush, who is a professor, researcher, and author of the book, The Warrior Method, and my brother Elijah Miles, who is an activist and the founder of Tadare Family Organization. And Brother Elijah, it is you, brother, and I think Doc can agree with me that when we see you, you're carrying the torch, you're carrying the mantle. I'll be watching you, Brother Elijah. I see you and follow you on social media. First, let me just tell y'all very quickly, Brother Elijah, you need to, what's your social media handle? Because you're putting out some fantastic content. And then I got to talk to this other brother on this other side who's dropping jewels every day. We're going to talk to Brother Dr. Winbush. But Brother Elijah, what's the social media for the work that you're doing and how you're moving about?
Oh, you can follow our organization's page at Tendea Family, TENDEA Family. TENDEA family, or you can follow me at chairman_Elijah, chairman_Elijah, ELIJAH. Yeah, happy to be an inspiration. Social media is where the kids is at now, so it's where everyone's at. So got to get it.
That's true.
Yep.
You got to get it. All right, Dr. Wimbush, come on now. You drop jewels. Dr. Wimbush drops jewels about everything from what's happening in Israel. And I got to bring you back on because, Doc, I need to let people, you need to talk about this Israel-Hamas situation, but more importantly, how people can learn from the work that you're doing.
Well, you can reach me mainly on Facebook, Ray Wimbush. Just look me up on Facebook.
There we go.
And then,
there we go.
I don't use X and Twitter anymore. I'm trying to migrate away from that. Shooter's like I said the Freudian slip was shooter, but Twitter is kind of like a shooting in a wild gallery. But I'm R Wimbush on shooter. See, I said on Twitter. Twitter's become a mess. But
I hear you. Hey, look, brother. Hey, Doc, I appreciate that. Hey, look, I saw this piece of you, Doc, Brother Elijah, that I think that this kind of encapsulate the whole week that we have, that we do want to have Black men who are active and engaged. And I saw this video, and I want to play this video of you as you're doing the great work that you're doing for Tendea family in the streets of Baltimore. Take a look, folks.
As long as there's a murder and a shooting on Morgan State campus, there's still more work to do. That's right. As long as there is a President Davo that's being killed, there's still more work to do. As long as there's over 300 murders in Baltimore City every year, most of them Black people, there's still more work to be done. Right. And each and every one of us have to use our skills, our talents, our resources, our money to push the Black community forward. Because things have to get better. There's no reason that we live in a community occupied by mostly Black people. And we got elders that's on the corners. We got young people that's on the corners. But many of these businesses are non-Black owned. There's no reason for that. There's no reason we're in a majority Black city and yet our kids are still being miseducated. That when I say Garvey, I see a Black stab because you haven't been taught about Garvey. There's no reason for that. And so it's still more work to be done. But we who are at Morgan, we who are young people, we who still got life and still believe, because it may be residents right now that don't believe that this neighborhood can change, that Baltimore City can change. So us that still believe, we got a duty. We got a duty to them. We got a duty to ourselves. We got a duty to our family. We got a duty to our community. But most of all, we got a duty to the future generations yet to come that will inherit this mess unless we clean it up.
Powerful stuff.
Thank you, Brother Raj.
Hey, look, I was looking for a way for something to end this part of the conversation, and I thought this is the perfect way to do it because you are a brother who is moving us further along, brother. And even though I'm not that much older than you, I see so much I see so much in you. So while you're doing your work there in the streets, Dr. Wimbush is doing his work on the college campus. I'm doing my work in media. This is exactly the type of multi-layered approach that we have to have in order to save and make sure that we redefine what it means to be Black men and we celebrate Black manhood in a very, very positive way. So I just wanted to give you that love and that shout out for that, brother, because you're doing some excellent work. I want to, as I close out, can I show the pictures? Hey, Ken, let's just throw some pictures up here. Look, I'm wearing this shirt that says Dope Black Dads. Y'all don't see it. This was designed by the mother of my children. Big shout out to her, Nira Muhammad. She was, yes. She did this. Look, let me tell you, there's nothing like choosing the right woman to have a child with.
That's right.
That makes all the difference in the world. I'm gonna tell y'all, that makes all the difference. Dr. Wimbush, you know it. You talked about it. You write about it. Brother Elijah, you have with your wife, your queen. It makes all the difference in the world that you choose the right woman to understand your role, your power, your future. So let me throw up my children up here, man, because see, that is nothing but love. Let me just show y'all. These are the two little humans that I've been blessed to take. And look at this. This is Nigel and Nyana. Here we go. There we go. That's Nigel, my son, 10 years old, full of life, his little sister, and we teach every day to show them to have love for each other. And let's start the other one. Can we do the other one, Keenan, real quick? Can we do that? Where all the dope black dads in the chat? I see you, Democrat. You said there's some dope black dads in the chat. I want to see all the black dads, man. Dope black dads, dope black men. Celinda, you said men need love, compassion, and understanding just like women. Fantastic. There they are. That's my children, y'all. This is the future.
That's right.
Dr. Winbush, listen, you talk about, look, this is what we're raising, man.
I remember when he was born, boy. Man, just congratulate. I love to see young black children and good black fathers, raising them up. Beautiful.
Brother Elijah, I know you're going to be making that. You're going to be going down that path, and whatever time frame that'll happen, brother. But trust and believe.
You ain't see the announcement. So
no,
my wife is pregnant with our first child.
Get out of here, brother. Yeah. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. There we go. Praise be to the God, brother. There we go. Congratulations. Congratulations. Look, man, this is exactly what we're talking about. Big shout out to all of the black men, all of the fathers in the chat. I see my pastor, Pastor Damon Blissett, standing tall, black dad. Who else? Janae, amen. Corinna, you said congratulations. Who else is checking in, man? Let me just tell y'all, there are so many black men in this country that care, that want to do right, that we are making the best decisions possible, Dr. Winbush, in this crooked ass system that we are part of, right? And so, as we started at the beginning of this week, acknowledging the great 28th anniversary of that historic Million Man March that happened 28 years ago. At the beginning of this week, on October the 16th, 2023, the day of that day changed my life forever. And now we're ending with having this conversation. I got Brother Elijah, who is just falling right into the line. What guidance can you offer, Dr. Winbush? Whatever guidance you can say, what guidance, what recommendations do you offer us as black men and as black women and as a people on how to move forward?
Well, as an educator, I always end my speeches by saying, read at least 30 minutes a day, something about black folk. We need to deepen into our history. We need to deepen into our culture, but just read 30 minutes a day. That's all.
That is something about black folks.
Something about black folk.
That's what I'm talking about.
Real quick, Faraji, I've been so surprised this week with this war going on that black folk don't even know, or not all black folk, but many black folk have asked me, well, I thought Israel was been here for 1,000 years. They don't know about the creation of the state. And that stuff is very important for us as black folk to know, the history of black Palestinian relationships in this country.
Right.
And that's why we're going to have a separate conversation to have you be a part of. And I would love to get your take on that. Dr. Ray Winbush, Brother Elijah Miles, I cannot thank you enough for being with us for this final part of this conversation. You brothers are inspiration. You are a light. And more importantly, y'all are so important, critical, and good for the culture. I cannot thank you enough, Brother Elijah. Whatever you need from us in supporting the work that you're doing, just, you can just shoot me a text. Dr. Winbush, I got to have your expertise back on to give us some insight onto this. But I thank you, brothers, for being a part of this final conversation for the Culture's Black Men's Summit, where we're redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Thank you so much, brothers.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. I got something in here. There we go. Let me move this out there. There we go. Folks, I thank you all so much for joining us. This has been a phenomenal week. And I hope and pray that you learned something. You took something. We're going to try to, I'm going to be posting some excerpts on my social media. So make sure y'all follow me at The Real Faraji on Instagram. I got a lot of followers on Facebook. But on the Instagram side, I'm still building up the network. So make sure y'all follow me at The Real Faraji on Instagram. Follow me on X at Faraji. I'm on Threads at The Real Faraji as well. But your support And I mean, it's just been overwhelming. It's been a phenomenal week. I cannot thank you enough. I want to thank our coverage partner, AfroLAnews.org, AfroLAnews.org. If you want to get all the latest news and information about Black Los Angeles, make sure you tune in, you check out the website at AfroLAnews.org, and you can see some of the latest things that are happening, things of substance, things that are cultural, but more importantly, things that are related to Black folks here in LA. So go to AfroLAnews.org for all of the latest news and information. Another Black media source for the city of Los Angeles. So definitely check it out. Go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. You can download the app for free. Follow us on social media. But we want your support. We need your support because it is your support that powers us through this process as we are in this digital media space. Big shout out to 00 Tehran, who is another member of Bring the Funk fan club on a level 1. Big shout out to you. Can we get a little horn for 00 Tehran? Thank you so much. And all of you who have already given, we can't thank you enough. But let your friends and family know that we need their support as well. So definitely check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. And folks, I want to thank my very special partner in making sure that this week happens, Sister Olivia Almagro. Sister Olivia's been doing the hard work, making sure we have these conversations. And of course, my production team, Joel, Shannon, my man King Keenan, Lise, Maddie, and Chris have all been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in making sure that the production of every day of this show, of this summit, has been on point. So thank you for my production team and everyone that was involved in this process. Folks, stay tuned. Up next, 6 p.m. is Roland Martin Unfiltered. I can't thank y'all enough. Make sure y'all check out the replays, share it, like it. Just let families know that we had these dynamic conversations. And Culture Crew, I thank y'all. I thank you for joining us for the Culture's Black Men Summit, redefining and celebrating Black manhood. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Peace.
Rocking with the best.